thanks for coming in. You know everybody?
Hello, Laura.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Franklin.
You probably know me the least. I've talked to you once or twice.
I see you walking on the hall.
Yeah, my kid.
Other than that, I don't really want to see you very often.
Not a lot lately.
No offense, right?
I feel the same way.
Anyway. Okay, so as I think you're aware, we are looking for a county commissioner. So we're interviewing. We don't make the decision, but we are going to give them some kind of recommendation. And then there's a meeting Monday night, a public forum, which I guess we've got one person who said they won't be there. I won't be there. I'll be gone. But other than that, maybe everyone else will be there. So, and then I think you guys do you have a schedule for next Tuesday?
10 o'clock.
So the soonest would be Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then see what happens from there. So we put together a bunch of interview questions, and I'm gonna start off. You've asked me to, I guess, I'm not sure why the attorney is the one taking the floor. That's dangerous, but.
Because you're good at talking a lot.
So I'll start asking you questions. Hopefully these guys will jump in at some point. And then if we fail to ask something you want to talk about, just say, hey, I want to talk about this. Okay. So let's begin with why you want to be county commissioner.
Well, I've ran for the office before, and I think there needs to be a third commissioner for sure. And another thing that I see, and I'm sure that you guys too, is that I see a lot of kids that have gone are coming back, and I think that's a pretty good representation that the county is a good place to live, and I'd like to see it stay that way. There's a lot of younger kids that are coming back, and there's also kids that are people that have been gone for a while that are coming back to the community, and I think you see more and more of that all the time going on, and I think that's a good description of how the county's viewed by people who have lived here.
Okay. And one of the things, and I'll just piggyback into this because it's later, but as far as kids that do leave, a lot of times they're leaving because they don't have good jobs here. Is there anything that the county commission can do to try and encourage good jobs here? What's your sense of, are things picking up? You mentioned people are coming back. Are they coming back when they're retired, or are they coming back for opportunities?
I think a good number of them you see are coming back into the school system, and some of them are coming back to, try to start businesses, or I kind of see them as, in my case, is I went into the service, and the first thing I could do was get out, and then I came back and I went to school, and I left for about 18 months, and I haven't left since. And it's because it's a good place to live. You got there's all kinds of recreational opportunities. You're centrally located. And as far as people with schools, I think we have an excellent school system that keeps an eye on kids, so that you very seldom, I don't think, unless the parents are absolutely not involved, the kids don't slip through the cracks. Another thing is that everybody in the community, if your kid goes and does something, well before that kid tells you something they should have done, you'll find out that something happened. And I think that that's a very positive situation for people with families. As far as businesses, it's the good thing, I guess, is that you're close to Helen and there's jobs there. Bozeman's not that far away and people are commuting there more or not. It'd be nice to see more businesses, but the thing is, depending on what your business you're starting, you're competing with Helen and Bozeman. I would think that we would have some room for more technology since we're so centrally located. I think that there's opportunities for small manufacturers here since we're centrally located. I don't know what you would manufacture, but there's opportunities there for that. One thing that when I was on city council, we had a lady come in there with a study for geothermal energy, and this county is loaded with geothermal energy. And I asked her, I go, why doesn't at that time it was Northwest Energy or PP&L, and he said, why don't they come in here and build, with all of this around, why can't you come in here and build a power plant? And they said, well, we're just looking for a guinea pig. It's probably a $250 million plant to start that, but the thing is, the way that they're going with coal strip and power generation, the line's right there. Why not explore that option? And there's plenty of, I mean, there's all kinds of, energy development funding available. Why not take advantage of it? Same thing with wind around here. And there is a gentleman that's talking about starting a solar farm out here on Mill Road. I mean, there may not be a huge amount of long-term jobs, but you could have construction jobs there. Without, you know, the big thing the last time that I didn't run was the Misty power line come through. Well, if you brought this thing in, you can tie into the existing line. You don't have to run a bunch of lines through the county. And I think that if you could bring that, you know, to get that actually done with some kind of a county development or involvement, then I would think that you could offer a lower rate for your electricity within the county, which would lead more manufacturing to move to the county. But the other thing that you have to look at is that, and I'm kind of for and against it since I'm a construction guy, is I like to have jobs, but on the other hand, when I'm hunting, I don't really like very many people coming in and hunting. So, you know, I mean, there's a balance there, and you have to understand if you have progress, that's kind of that's what you balance, that's what you're gonna have to fight when you do that. And also we have, I mean, like I said before, we have great recreational opportunities in this county that not very many people have that opportunity we're very fortunate to have that. So that's pretty much.
Okay. What kind of time commitment do you expect to be able to put in as a county commissioner?
Whatever's
What do you
required.
think it's gonna look like?
Without being involved, I really can't say, but I would assume you would have to spend probably 30 hours at least, not necessarily on the job, but doing the job. You know, you traveling roads, to see what kind of road shapes you're in, talking to people to see what they have issues with, and going to whatever meetings you have to attend. You know, budget time takes up a lot of time. When I was on the city council, that was always 2 or 3 extra meetings that we had because of budget issues.
Okay. So speaking of the budget, do you have a sense of where the county is in the budget? Are we a healthy budget? Are we good with money? Are we losing money? Is there places you'd say we need to put more money here, we need to put less money here, reprioritize?
I would think that there's, the way that I look at it, I think there's some over expenditure in the amount of employees that we have. Budget-wise, I think the county probably sits pretty good. No, I mean, I look at it, but I don't pay that much attention to it. I think that there are some departments that are possibly expendable. Normally, basically the weed program, I think, is a huge liability issue if it's not addressed properly. And the mosquito deal, because, I mean, and both of them mostly because of chemicals and exposure and probably improper training. I think those two departments need to be looked at a little harder as far as possibly basically privatizing or contracting those out. I think the thing is with the weed department, the main thing that I'm concerned with about the weed department is the application of chemicals in an improper situation and people handling chemicals improperly. I don't know what the training process is there, but I would look pretty seriously into that. And probably the same thing with mosquitoes. You know, we got this Zika virus thing running around, and who knows what that's really gonna entail. And that's gonna be, you know, I would assume that there would be a federal push on that more than it is local, state and county. But I'm sure normal federal procedure is start a push and then tell the state they have to do it, then tell the county they have to do it, but nobody gets any money to actually do it. That's, you know, that's a standard procedure. The state does it all the time with different laws they pass and say, well, how are we supposed to enforce that? Well, that's up to you. This is the law. You need to come up with the funding for it. So then you have to sit and figure some way to pull that money from a different division so that you can pay for that specific problem. And I don't agree with that. I mean, that's the way the system works.
Okay. So you were on city council, is that what you said?
I was on city council, I believe, for 10 years.
Okay, so the open government, you're familiar with open government requirements?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how does that work for county commission? Open government, open records, all that stuff?
It should all be, anybody that wants information should be given information. And nothing should be, nothing goes around under the table or behind closed doors unless it's executive process with an employee, that something would involve that employee's privacy rights. Other than that, I don't see any reason for things not to be completely open.
So we talked a little bit about this in terms of budget, maybe if there's anything more that's not just on money, you can elaborate if you want to. What do you see that the county commission is doing well at this point that you would want to continue or even enhance?
Well, I think I think there needs to be a lot more communication between commissioners and a lot more, not openness, but basically openness and also a willfulness to have a viable discussion on projects.
Okay, and that's two, I was gonna ask you both. What's going well to keep going? What's not going well that you'd like to improve at CHH?
Well, the communication is not going well as far as other things. I think most of the other things are all going pretty well. I don't know about how budgets, communication as well as also the willingness to have a good conversation, also the willingness to compromise between one point, so this one's out here and this one's out here, but there's no meeting in the middle. The only way that you're going to be effective is to meet in the middle.
Okay. And how do you bring about some change there? How do you bring about the polarized commission not getting along?
That's a very good
People
question.
How do you get us there?
Well, I think that if it's that divisive, then you have to sit down with each individual and talk to them and see where their ideas are and then try to weld some kind of a midpoint that you can get to, that at least if you're not completely solving the problem or whatever the issue is, you're not just continually kicking it down the road. I mean, the problem with kicking it down the road is each time you kick it down the road, it gets worse. And then the division gets worse, and pretty soon you're not gonna get anything done.
Okay.
And I've handled wives and husbands building houses. Sometimes it gets pretty bad.
There's no domestic violence. I think they deem that as like the second most stressful thing we can do is build a home together. I think is
That's the worst thing there is.
I've heard that before too.
The best thing is to send one of them on vacation.
Yeah.
It's usually the guy.
If they're smart, less than the guy.
So let's talk about that. So talk about something you've done. You've diffused a problem, a disagreement, whatever, and were able to get something accomplished that initially looked like a roadblock.
Well, a lot of the things that I haven't done, at the city, we never really had big conflicts like that. I've ran a softball tournament for 35 years, and you deal with extremely competitive people, and then by the end of Saturday night, you're dealing with extremely competitive drunk people, and then by Sunday morning, you're dealing with extremely competitive hungover people. And we had, for 2 years ago, the first time ever we got rained out. So we're on a Saturday afternoon with people and say, well, I want to play, but I don't want to play with that ball, and I only want to play with this ball, and this is going to be the rule. So we sat in a room with, 48 people discussing what we were going to do, and we were able to come to a compromise that we would wait until the next day, and this is the balls we'll use, this is the time frame we use, and we got everything pretty well straightened out as far as what we were going to do things. And you got to be able to bend the rules each way to get somewhere, and if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do.
Okay. Tell us about a mistake you've made in your life and what
I
you
only
learned.
made one mistake, and I thought Well-
What you learned from it too.
Well, I've made several. I made bad decisions by not following my dad's advice about not going into business with your friends or relatives. Probably should have listened to Dad pretty good on that one. And then, I've made mistakes building things, ordering wrong materials, and as part of the job, you just, you pay for it and the customer gets a freebie. That's pretty much how it works. Unfortunately, with taxpayers, it's pretty hard to give the taxpayers a freebie because they're the ones that paid the bill to begin with. So I don't know how you would rectify that situation other than, you know, like, you don't do like Flint, Michigan, is give them lead tainted water and then charge them a water bill. I mean, you know, that's just not how it works. I mean, if you make a mistake, you atone for it and then you go on from there.
Okay. Someone else is up now. I've asked a bunch.
Well, he's kind of covered quite a bit just in his answers. That's,
Lot number 16, have you ever had a problem or dispute with the county or a county employee, and if so, how did you handle it? And will it affect the way you deal with their department?
No, I don't think I ever had a problem with, maybe solid waste, I argue with them all the time, but it's never been, it's more of a joking thing than it is serious. But actually, you know, I don't really have a lot of issues with county departments whatsoever. I mean, I think that those guys all seem to do a pretty good job. I mean, not being in the position of absolutely being around all the time, I haven't had problems with county employees. You know, and I never, at the city, I very seldom had problems with people. I mean, as long as they're doing their job, I don't have a problem with them.
I'll ask my question by asking anyway. Not everybody, but since you're a businessman here, we had one county attorney that took over someone's position, kind of like you'll be doing. And in that process, with some of the decisions he had to make here, it affected his business. If that happened, how would you handle that? It affected his business in a negative way.
Well, then that's just, that part of your business is no longer viable. I mean, if it's gonna decrease the amount of work that you have, then that's whoever the individual is that you're dealing with or whatever partner you're working with, that's how business is. That's about the same as if you go to, say I go to Casey's Tire and buy my tires all the time and I give him a bid on a project and he hires somebody else, you don't quit going to Casey's Tire because he didn't take your bid. I mean, that's kind of the way that I look at it. I mean, if they have that big of a problem with me as a decision that I made a commissioner, but they don't want me to work, then I'm not gonna go to work, I'm not gonna work for them. That's how it is. It's the same as when you give somebody a bid and you don't get the job, the next thing you come and say, well, you didn't give me that one, I'm not even gonna give you a bid for this one. I mean, if you're in business, you're in business to work, you're not in business just, you know, only work for your friends, you gotta have other people that you work. If all you did was work for your friends, you wouldn't get either, you'd have two things, you wouldn't be missed or you wouldn't get paid.
I'll be right back.
Mike, one of the things, a lot of the things that we do as commissioners is we work with not only the elected officials, the employees, we also work on boards and with agencies for the region and across the state. So when you are working with others in that kind of a capacity, what does respect look like to you? How do you show people respect?
Well, simply by listening to their ideas and giving them an honest answer to any question that they have. And again, be willing to compromise and take advice from people who have been in the position before. I mean, you don't want to go in on a board as a perfectly new person and all of a sudden say, you know, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. You need to take advice from those people, and also you need to learn from their experiences on those boards. I mean, that's if you go into a board as a freshman member, then it's proper to assume that the people that are senior on that board probably have more insight into what you're doing than what you would have into it. So you sit and you listen, and then if you have a good idea, you can wait until that person gets done with that presentation instead of just bulling in and saying, well, this is the way we're gonna do it because that's the way we did it. Well, that doesn't work with boards, because like boards that you have 5 to 7, 9 members. And people wouldn't be on that board if they didn't have an interest and an experience within that board, what the purpose of that board is doing. I mean, you need to go to that board, and it's the same thing with the commission. You need to come in with an open mind and not have an agenda or vendetta or something to say, well, this is how I want it to be, so that's the only way I'm gonna let it be. Because you, like I said before, if you can't compromise, and the number one thing that you have to remember in the capacity of this job is that you're representing your taxpayer base. You're not representing yourself, your group, or your party. You're representing the people that pay taxes. Another thing that and I don't really know the settings of this, but the one thing that I don't really like is like when Brian Patrick was the head of the school, he was the president of the Montana School Board Association or something. Well, if you're doing that and you're running all over doing this stuff, then how are you, to me, that's not representation of the people that are paying your salary. Your job is to do your job within the county. And if that's achieved, then you have time to go do those other things. But if this thing is in trouble here, then you shouldn't be spending your time out somewhere else avoiding or just not taking care of what's going on here. I think that if everything in your house is in order and you have the right people in place, then you can attend these other conferences. But if you're not getting things done here or something's a problem, the issue at home has to be taken care of. And I think that that issue and your home-based work is more important than any statewide board that you can be on, because that statewide board is gonna do what they're supposed to do in concerns to them, and I realize you have to have representation there, but if you're not here taking care of this problem, to me, that representation at the problem overweighs the representation on a statewide or whatever other large board that you would become involved in. So that's the way I kind of look at that. I have a hard time with long distance out boards that really don't provide anything to the county.
One of the things that those boards do provide to the county is Head Start, senior meals, Meals on Wheels, mental health. We have a therapist who comes in and does family therapy, group therapy, that kind of thing. The networking, by working with other commissioners, you can actually learn mistakes they made first so that we can avoid those. What's your opinion on that?
I would say that would be a favorable representation of the county. If it's something that actually involves a service that's provided to the county, then I would think that would be something that you should be represented at.
Okay.
About the first question, with so much communication being done electronically, what's your level of computer skills?
Medium, I'd say. I'm not a programmer, but I can get around. And I have a bonus, I have an 8th grade daughter, so I got
We were just discussing that.
You have your personal techie.
Who's been an important mentor or shaping influence in your life?
I would say Terry Stocks, who was I went to work with him in 1984, and in my time with him, I went from working with him to being a foreman of a crew that we had, to being a partner with just myself and him, and then we had another partner, and then I went out on my own after that, but I still see him almost every day when he's around. And probably as far as any government thing would be Mary Alice Upton, who was the mayor when I was on the city council.
What do you see as the qualities of a good leader in this environment?
Well, I think being able to listen to the co-commissioners, and also being able to have enough vision to see a solution to a problem, getting along and communicating with the department heads so that they feel free to come talk to you about a problem or a concern without the fear of being bullied or told you're an idiot and there's no way we're going to do that. And, communication skills. And the ability that when something does happen, that you have to make a quick decision, to be able to make a quick and sensible decision on what the problem in the process should be.
I think you've you've answered just about every question we have here. See if there's any that jump out. Did we ask you what your, something you've done in your life, an achievement that you're proud of? Did we ask you that?
My daughter. And my business, I've kept my business going through a couple pretty rough times, so.
I know you were a member of the city council. What's your familiarity with Montana Code Annotated?
Not a whole lot, other than, issues that came up there is basically pretty much the only thing, we didn't really have a whole lot of problems with code stuff there, except for, the big one that we had when I was there was doing the streets. And a lot of that was basically how the bonding went and the process of passing that whole improvement district process was entailed quite a bit with a lot of code stuff that went on there. Other than that, major projects there, that was pretty much the only major project we have that really delved into a bunch of codes and stuff. The only other thing is some building code things that are changed now and then is really the only association that I have with it.
Anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I'm pretty much covered. What's the time frame? So when you appoint Tuesday, does work starts Wednesday? Or
I would say that's up to you.
Okay.
And I would say that to any candidate, as soon as we make the decision, you could be sworn in
okay.
right away, I would think. Is there any reason there needs to be a delay, Corey?
No.
Okay, yeah, so,
Okay.
it could be immediate. And the need is immediate.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. The other thing is, what do you do with ads to, like, if I go to Alaska for my normal time, when I go to Alaska, I would miss 3 meetings. So is that something that you can telephone conference or something, or computer or something like that? If something was urgent, that would be covered?
Yeah, if you get 3 weeks, is that what you mean by 3 meetings?
No, because I would leave, I leave on a Thursday, so I would miss the next Monday, Wednesday, Monday, because I
Oh.
come back on that Monday.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
3
that's-
weeks, it's just 3 meeting days that I would be gone.
Yeah, you can call in,
Okay.
yeah, it's very easy that way. If you're gone for over a month, then you just have to make sure it's
Oh,
clear
okay.
Yeah.
with the rest of the commission.
And actually, I think you don't want to meet one because the 4th is on a Monday. So I don't want to miss
Right.
one.
Yeah, I think the law says that if any elected official is out of state for more than 30 days without notifying the commission, then they forfeit their office. So
Okay. What about
So
the
I'll keep
fire
that in
board?
mind. Say again?
Am I still allowed to be on the fire board or not?
Is it the,
Broadwater County Rural Fire Board.
It's an elected position, so
it's an elected? No, you would not.
So
You'd
I'd have to
resign from
forfeit that.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't pay as much, but that's a pretty good group of guys.
Yeah.
It
But
is,
you'd
that's
still
a
be
good
working
board.
with them, just in a different way.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, any other thoughts? We have a Monday night event. I think she'll.
Yes, I do.
Is that
This is,
6:30?
Is it what?
6:30?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Evans, the mayor, will
Okay.
moderate, and you'll have a 3-minute speech about yourself at the beginning,
Okay,
and then it's a Q&A, and that's just a basic structure of what the evening will look like.
okay. When do we draw at the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who writes the questions?
Employees or the public or any citizen who wants to, who feels uncomfortable standing up and speaking, they have
Oh, okay.
obviously full right to write down their question instead, and give it to Mike either now or Monday night.
Oh, okay.
And then the rest of the questions I would expect would be verbal, what we've had in the
Okay.
past, raise your hand,
Okay.
ask your question.
So I forgot to ask, or maybe I did, are you running as well as?
Yes, I am.
You are.
Yes.
questions?
No?
I don't have any more questions.
According to this request doesn't include you because you won't be here, but can you guys all bring something to drink, soda or something for Monday, for the public?
Say what?
Bring a, something to drink, like a liter of soda and that kind of thing.
Oh, for the, oh,
Refreshments
sure,
that way.
sure.
Yeah,
Ask
all right,
For the public to
I'll
drink.
have a quote.
right,
Like a case of water or something.
Thanks for
exactly.
coming in.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Take
thank you
care.
guys for your time.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Mike.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Brian.
So how are you guys wanna receive our input? How are we gonna do that? Cause for one, I'm leaving on Saturday, so if I give you input, I need to do it before then.
Can you fly back on Monday and then leave again? No?
I won't even be there by Monday.
Oh.
No, maybe I will. Well, you can leave it on,
I don't mind